Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video we'll be talking about the Genshin Impact team compilations. In every video about Genshin Impact I'll be giving you some guides, advices and etc. In this video we'll be talking about some of the teams Ayaka can use and the best possible teams to have a maximum amount of damage. But remember, not every single team is perfect. But in my case, I'm demonstrating how well this team performs, and hopefully you will like my video helpful. Also, I'll be including a link to an Excel file which will be showing you various kind of teams, and I'll be constantly updating that file, so everyone who is interested can check that file out. Okay, the first team is Diona, Bennett, Shelling and Ayaka. First of all, let's see what kind of equipment do they have. So, what do we have here? Let's start with Ayaka herself. These are her basic stats, her crit rate, crit damage, and her weapon is the black sword for extra crit rate. Artifacts is 4-piece set of the cryo, and the last one is crit damage. So people probably will ask, why so much crit rate? Well, basically we want her every single ability to crit to get most of her damage, but in some cases even 4-piece set is enough if we have, for example, the 5-star weapon. Constellation is 0, talents are 10 10 10, yes, I crowned her. And as for the other characters, let's skip to Diona. Well, her attributes are not very important, but I prefer her to be more tanky, and I want her to have as much as possible HP for extra shield and healing. So the weapon is the Favonius Warbow for energy recharge, and the artifacts are 2-piece set of the HP set and 2-piece of healing set. As for constellations, she's full constellation. That gives us extra 200 elemental mastery, and her talents are 1 11 9. Let's move to the next character is Shelling, 6 10 10 her talents. As for her constellation, it's full constellation. Artifacts is 2 pyro set and 2 of elemental mastery. Well, her elemental mastery is kinda good in this case, because mostly we're triggering the melt damage all the time, because Ayaka uses auto attack as cryo damage, and that's why this is kinda good build for her in this team. As for her weapon, yeah, it's kinda too much crit rate with this weapon, because the final piece, the head piece, is crit rate as well. I would replace this weapon for something more different, for extra damage, for example something like an energy recharge probably, or maybe the 5-star weapon, something with energy recharge. But for this case, well, we don't have choice, and I'm using this weapon for just because I don't have any other option. Bennett, the basic stats, nothing very important. The main important part here is the base attacks. That's why I'm using this weapon, because this is the best 4-star weapon for the maximum amount of base attack and energy recharge. The 4-piece set is the noblest set, and the constellation is 5. Never upgrade Bennett to 6 constellation. Talents is 12 levels, so yeah, this gives us quite a ton of extra attack with his buff. What good is teams if we don't test them? So let's do this. This is a pre-recorded video, and yeah, I'll be pausing a lot so I can explain few things. I'm choosing healing effectiveness, just we don't have like extra damage and etc. while testing this. And let's see how it performs. So basically this is like a melt team, constant melt team, with for example Diona adding extra elemental mastery, while Shelling is triggering the melt sequence sometimes, or Ayaka is triggering the melt sequence while Shelling's ultimate is constantly spinning. The pros and cons of this team is that the con actually is that when the enemies are so scattered, basically it's kinda hard to use all of the abilities, and sometimes it's like not a very good choice to have this kind of teams. While the other team I have in this video performs kind of better than the first one. So as you can see, it's like not most of the time I can trigger the melt sequence because enemies are scattered, and Bennett's ultimate is like stationary. Well, the bright side is that Shelling's ultimate is always following you, so you can trigger melt like that. But the plus is that with this team I have shield, and also I can trigger melt with Ayaka and Shelling. Okay, in the second demonstration on floor 12, this team performs a lot better. Sometimes Shelling is triggering that melt damage, and that's why I had that elemental mastery on Shelling to trigger that damage. Even Bennett is doing some amount of damage. And so I won't be commenting a lot on this part, and you should just enjoy the video yourself. So let's move on to the second team. We basically saw what is capable the first team, so we'll keep it short this time. The second team is Bennett, Shelling, Jinshu, and Ayaka. So we only replaced one character and ended Jinkyu. And what does this team do? It's something like this. Either Jinshu is triggering the vaporize damage, or sometimes melt sequence is happening with Shelling, Bennett, and Ayaka. Also, for example, Shelling has a very long cooldown, and she requires a lot of energy to trigger her ultimate. And Bennett is not constantly proccing the fire damage. That's why it's something like this. Basically, Bennett is adding that extra damage buff, while Jinshu and Ayaka are constantly triggering freezing effect. This way enemies are constantly frozen. But again, when the enemies are scattered, it's kinda hard to control the field, because when enemies are all around you, it's basically the same result. But it kinda performs better because you're constantly freezing these enemies, but in this case the floor 10's enemies are so weak that they're easily dying. So let's move on to Jinshu's build.
みんなは俺が守る。防御。油断した。雨描き型桜吹雪。
熱々でしょ。失礼。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。
はあ。やっ、踊りなさい。料理の時間だよ。
股間奥義。全力攻撃だ。歌よ錦となれ。サビとなれ。
失礼。
ここまで。やはりダメだった。
雪を前。
なかなかやるな。ここまで。みんながそばにいてくれるわ。左右ルコこの剣は
神里流消滅。それあっ
くらえ。みんなは俺が
踊りなさい。料理の時間だよ。師匠の技を食らいなさい。失礼。
As you can see, in both cases, both teams work, but I'm kinda not trying to make a perfect video. I made several mistakes while fighting. It's kinda hard to concentrate while recording. But you can see that these teams are constant and they give you a lot of damage. Shelling is basically an additional damage to the team when you build properly. She's more like a supportive DPS, while Jinshu is well, basically he does a decent amount of damage with his E skill, but also he's a supportive character as well to trigger either vaporize damage or freeze the enemies, etc. So thanks for watching, and probably in next videos I won't be commenting a lot. I'll try to make it shorter and mostly try to demonstrate as how does this team perform and etc. Thank you again and see you guys in the next video.